A new foe has appeared. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Woo! Oh my goodness, I am so excited to talk about this today. But today I'm actually here to talk about it and compare it just a small bit with our little Miss Princess Peach right over here. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom has just come out for the Nintendo Switch yesterday, or if you're watching this in the future, it just came out September of 2024. I've played a couple of the Legend of Zelda games, but I feel like maybe the reason why I haven't played as many is because we have never had a female protagonist heroine. But here we are today, where you can actually play as Zelda in this new game. Today I just want to talk about my first impressions, my thoughts of the game, and do I think it's a good buy for $60? I just did a live stream of this video, so if you want to watch my first impressions and the full live stream, this video will be right up here. Now, I'm not doing a full deep dive comparison because I actually haven't finished this game yet. Literally just came out yesterday if you are watching this right now. So that's why I don't want to dive too much into it, but because Princess Peach Showtime is also $60. I've already done a full deep dive of this after completing the game, so if you want to see that, that will also be linked down below. Now let's get into it. We have seen a couple clips of our little Miss Princess Zelda here in other areas, in other games such as Hyrule Warriors. She's seen in Smash Brothers, all with her combat and fighting abilities, but never a game where you can actually fully play as her. Now, there has been that really old game that came out before I was even born. You know, does anyone even remember that? Like, she was a playable character at some point, but having her own game, that's new. Wow. We've been missing some of these strong female protagonists in Nintendo games. Princess protagonists in female games. I'm really excited to be seeing this. 2 princesses in 1 year with their own games. Like, yay! A win on Nintendo's end. But that being said, I do want to talk about it a little bit because I'm not saying this game is 100% what I was expecting it to be. On top of there being a couple things I actually didn't really like with my first time playing this. Now, like I said, I'm not done with the game, so if you've gotten farther than I have, I'd highly recommend you writing in the comments if I miss anything. But if you liked today's video, I'd really recommend you like and subscribe. I've been loving all of your feedback so far, and I would love it if you guys could continue on helping me with my journey of getting to 5,000 subs before the end of the year. I'm getting so close. Thank you to you guys who have been supporting me. I really love it and appreciate it. If you'd like to support me more, you can see on my socials, I do YouTube shorts every single day, along with also just opening up an Etsy store where you can get some of my merch and my stickers. I'm getting ready to drop a Halloween pack, so get ready for some spooky stickers really soon. But let me not waste any more of your time just talking about it, and let me show you a little bit of the game footage that I've got for my live stream, along with some points and tips if you plan on picking this game up yourself. And if you're debating between Echoes of Wisdom and Princess Peach Showtime, this might give you a good perspective of what might be your female protagonist video game of this year. Let's get into it. Welcome to The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Now let's right off the bat start with the story. You start off playing as Link in the beginning of this little adventure in this new installment for the Nintendo Switch, in the art style of this cute 2D animation from Link's Awakening. Here's a little footage from me playing on the live stream, so that's why I am in the corner. But in this game, you start off playing as Link. Love it! Love it. Only to find out after your boss battle, you end up falling into one of the rifts that keep appearing in Hyrule. As Zelda, you break free from being captured and begin your trek back to the castle to let the king know what happened. But unfortunately, when you arrive, the king also falls into one of these rifts and comes out as like an evil person and decides to banish you away to the dungeon, thinking that you might have been the cause of the rifts. While being locked away, you end up meeting this cute little fairy. I don't know what he is, but his name is Tri, and Tri gives you the powers of echoes. Once you've secured the Tri-Rod, that's when the story really begins, as you use your Tri-Rod to almost kind of duplicate things to really fight in combat. Little Tri helps you along the way as you learn new echoes to fight enemies and solve puzzles along the way. Now, I'm not going to hold you, I was actually super confused on how to really use this ability. I think the beginning of the game is a little more on the stealthier side, so I was just trying to be an overachiever when you really didn't have to. There are a lot of instances where I think I was just a little confused on how to use the echoes, but I mean, it was the start of the game, so I will say it gets easier the more that you play. I'm telling you, there's like a 5-minute segment of my live where I was just struggling and confused, and if anybody watched it, I apologize. How did you manage to get out? Now let's actually get into some of the points about this game and my thoughts on it. Now, starting with some of the positives, I think the story of this game is so cool. It's really like a hybrid of A Link to the Past, along with a little bit of features from Tears of the Kingdom. While I'm not one for always loving a 2D animation style, I will say they did this correctly, as I think the visuals in this game are really beautiful. Longtime fans will notice that right off the bat you will see some visuals of the map style that are exact replicas of some of the older games, which I think is a really nice touch to something that is a little more modern now. And while I haven't finished it yet myself, you will also see a lot of things from Tears of the Kingdom along with Breath of the Wild. It's a really cool retro feel while also bringing some modern touches into it, and I really love that about this game. And also adding to this about the story, I really love the idea of the reversed roles. Princess Zelda is on her way to save Link and to save all of Hyrule. She's kind of like a little Mulan slash Elsa from Frozen, as she has to wear her little disguise while she's trying to fight these enemies, along with trying to save the day. And the more you play it, you'll also realize you'll get a lot more cute little costumes you can unlock for her, just like you would in Princess Peach with all of your cute little character outfits. Now let's talk about the combat really quickly. In this game, you do use the power of echoes, which allows you to almost replicate things, so you can replicate enemies, which will fight other enemies for you, along with replicating things like crates and beds and trees, which will help you in solving some of the dungeons. In addition to that, your first kind of boss battle is actually defeating Link. In one of the dungeons, you are able to find his sword, which allows you to transform into him, and you can use that sword as a form of combat in battles as well. But only for a limited time, as there is a gauge to show you how long you can actually use the sword for. Then after, you turn right back into Zelda, and you can replenish it by finding these little sharp pieces, which will allow you to replenish your gauge and use it again. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this is probably one of the things I really didn't like about the game, just for the fact that you have to transform into Link. Now, I know that technically you aren't Link, you are still Zelda, just using his sword and his like spirited form. And I also do understand that the fan base is gonna wanna see some hints of Link somewhere in the game. But if I'm being completely honest, I feel like this idea could be revisited a little bit. If you're gonna give Zelda a sword and a shield, then I want to see Zelda use the sword and the shield as Zelda, not as Link, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I do like the idea of being able to have both the sword and the shield, along with being able to use her magic echoes powers. But in a way, it feels like they didn't have as much faith in Zelda as a standalone heroine, so they had to put Link in here. And I know that might sound very, I don't know, woke, however you want to say it, or controversial, you name it, but I want to kind of bring this up because in Princess Peach Showtime, there's not one time you actually had seen Mario, because Princess Peach is a well-known princess, and I feel like Zelda should get the same treatment. And I get it, they're two completely different games, and I also understand the fact that maybe these games shouldn't even be compared, and in a way, I completely agree. But respectfully speaking, I do believe, being that both of these princesses are in the Nintendo franchise, I was kind of hoping that Zelda would get a similar treatment of seeing her story, seeing her side of things, outside of Link. But then again, I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. I think it's perfectly fine to see Link and to even for her to use his sword. And while this may sound like a hot take, I do believe that the combat in Echoes of Wisdom is a lot more challenging than Princess Peach Showtime. And so I understand why you might need a sword and a shield, but if that's the case, just give Zelda a sword and a shield on top of being able to use the power of echoes, which I guess they do, but I really wish it would have been hers and not Link's. Because if I'm really being honest about how I feel about the combat style of Echoes of Wisdom, I will say it's kind of tedious, and there's a lot of times where I'd rather just use the sword and shield as opposed to trying to figure out which of my robot enemies is going to defeat another enemy. It doesn't make her feel like a damsel in distress, but she isn't doing as much as I wish she was. And quick spoiler alert, because this might be a spoiler for those who, I don't know, might not have played all of the older games, but I feel like this could have been a perfect opportunity to bring back some of Zelda's other forms. Like, what happened to Tetra? What about Sheik? Like, this is a perfect, I don't know, Sailor Moon transformation sort of thing they could have put in here where she could transform into her other forms. And like, what about the power of time? Is that just, like irrelevant in this game? Like, I'm just throwing it all out here, guys. I'm just saying. And that's why I want to bring up Princess Peach Showtime a little bit. Because it shows her as a standalone, very strong character without really needing the help of Mario. Along with also seeing her in so many different forms that many viewers had never seen before actually playing the game. Because they really did do her dirty. Like, in the old game, while I had loved the old Super Princess Peach, Homegirl was just crying the entirety of the game, on top of using the power of an umbrella. So seeing her in this form is kind of freaking awesome. But I digress. Take that however you will. I will say outside of the combat, there are so many other things that I did actually like about the game. Now, upon reading online, I've seen some people finish this game in between about 20 to 30-ish hours, and that's just completing the main story, with there still being a lot of side missions you can do in this game as well. And to me, that's always a plus. I love a game that I can get a lot of hours out of, especially if I'm going to spend $60 on them with Nintendo's high prices sometimes. The game is actually challenging. Like, granted, I haven't played too much of it myself, but from playing it, I found myself stuck a lot of times, having to think a little harder on certain aspects. And for me, that is actually a plus. I actually like having a bit of a challenge, and I feel like most Zelda games has a similar sort of feel for them being a bit challenging, with there being these puzzles and harder enemies, and to me, I love that. But I will say, if you can only get 20 to 30 hours out of it, I don't know if that's as big of a plus as I want to say it is. If you compare it to something as big as Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, it's almost like, well, did I really get my money's worth? But again, I digress. I still feel like that's a lot better than what I had gotten out of Princess Peach Showtime, with me having had finished the game in just a little over 10 hours. But I will say, for a Zelda game, I feel like that might not be as big of a plus as I want to say it is, because if you're gonna get 30 hours out of a game, that doesn't feel right if you compare it to some of the huge games that have released in modern times for Zelda games. But I also will say it really depends on the person and how fast you really get through a game. For me, I'm going to try to spend my time on something like this. There's no sort of rush that I'm going to try to get through when it comes to this game. I want to take my time with it, I want to enjoy it, and I feel like for me, I might not finish in 30 hours. It might take me 40 hours. I mean, heck, I don't know even how long it has taken me to finish just one Zelda game, and that probably was like 60 hours alone for something as small as Ocarina of Time, okay? But like I said, this is all pluses for me. I like the fact that the game is a little more challenging. I like the fact that it is going to probably take me longer to play it. For me, I feel like that's what I paid for. That's what I'm getting my money's worth out of. And I like the fact that the map is so big. Like, I love that. That means there's so much for me to explore, so many side quests to do, and a lot more outfits I can find to. And also, can I add that I like the puzzles and the mechanics of this game as well. There's just some things that are really just top-notch in regards to attention to detail, especially with all of the little cameos from older characters and a lot of the attention to detail in regards to the map space and where things are placed. I really think that's just something that fans are going to love about this game. But briefly throwing in a not so positive note, I do still feel like Zelda's role is a bit limited in this game. While I think her magic powers are kind of cool, I just don't think it has the same level of uniqueness and strength as I was kind of hoping for. And to add one more like just kind of small thing, I think the frame rate in the game just isn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I know this was an issue in Link's Awakening a little bit, so I will say I don't think it's really been fixed in this game either. So that's just something, if that might bother you, I mean, just giving you a heads up. I know to some people that's kind of like a really big issue, and I'm just gonna let you know it's not amazing. You know, there are times where it's a little slow, and I even felt like I experienced some of those slowdowns while I was on live even, and you know, it kind of sucks. It's not like the biggest deal for me. I'm kind of used to it, but I will say for some people that's just, you know, giving you a heads up.
But overall, that's kind of my thoughts on this game. Overall, though, I think this game is refreshing. It is nice to see. I think it's a good addition to the Legend of Zelda story. I just want to hopefully see some more expansion on this in the future, especially for Zelda. I think, honestly, it's not like the biggest and best thing for her as a heroine protagonist character. I think they honestly could do more, and I just think that this was their first shot at it, and I completely get it. I feel like there is more to come with her. I really hope so, and I feel like there is, and I'm really gonna hope that there will be. And to add on to that, I mean, there is just a lot to love about this game. Boss battles are fun, dungeons are fun. I think the map is really big, and you can see a lot of stuff from older games for fan favorites. There is a lot to love about this game. I'm going to not recommend it. I will say you will enjoy it. But I also think that it could just be a little bit more. Let me know in the comments below if you feel similarly, or if you think I completely missed the mark on this. I'm not sure. I'm just out here, guys. I'm just doing my little thing, throwing out my little comments. But let me give you my final thoughts on everything, and you can decide what you think is the best for you.
That's kind of my thoughts on Echoes of Wisdom and Princess Peach Showtime in regards to comparing them a little bit here and there. Now, which game do I think is worth your $60? You get what feels like a very long gameplay. There's so many dungeons, there's so much map space where I honestly feel like you are getting your money's worth out of getting Echoes of Wisdom. I'm gonna be completely honest, the fact that I only got about a little over 10 hours, and that's just saying a little, out of Princess Peach Showtime, I can't fully justify paying $60 for this. Now, in terms of what I think is a better game, it's really up to each person. I really think it's up to you in what fighting style you like better in between both of these games. I don't think either of these are bad games. I think we're seeing some strong female protagonists, and on top of the fact that they're just very different games. Both of them are good. You can't really go wrong with either one. I just think it's a personal preference of which one you think would be better for you. And if you can't decide, get both like I did. But that being said, focusing just on Echoes of Wisdom, I do still think this game has a long way to go in getting exactly what I had wanted out of this. There's a couple things that I just think could be done a little better. But I'm also saying this based off of first impressions, so take what I'm saying pretty lightly, because there's still so much more of this game I have to explore, and I feel like it's gonna eventually just grow on me. In the near future, when I finish this, which I feel like might take me a while, so bear with me, I hope to talk about this game in more depth, about some of the hidden secrets, dungeons, things like that. But I'm hoping this helps you decide if this is going to be a good game for you. Let me know down below, do you think Nintendo hit it on the nail with this game? Do you think there still needs to be more development with it? I can say yes and no to both of those things. My opinion wise, I'm not really sure. I like it so far, but I'm hoping it gets better the more that I play it. But with that being said, if you liked today's video, make sure you press that little subscribe button, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye guys!